Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of Girls Islamic Organization Chennai, we are honored to welcome one of the exemplary personality, Dr. Subashini, who is joining us today to share her experience and study on mental health. She is a very brilliant role model with a lot of achievements tagged to her name. She is prominently noted for being the former head of Department of Psychology at Justice Basheer sayeed, and her period has vouched to be the golden period of her department. Her special ability is to make sure that there is 100% pass in any paper she handles, be it research methodology, statistics, or neuropsychology. She has supervised 15 PhD scholars, out of whom only 2 are yet to receive their doctorate. Over the years, she has undertaken several funded research projects and has been invited as a speaker in national and international conferences and forums. As an administrator, she has helped set up various psychology departments in Chennai and Bangalore. Her services as a UGC guest faculty was sought by Rajiv Gandhi Institute for Youth Development. She joined the Department of Psychology as the head of the department at MSSW and was also appointed as the Dean of the college. She currently continues as the Dean of MSSW. She has contributed to the overall development and growth to the college. To sum it up, it can be said that she is a teacher of standing, a dynamic leader, and a grateful administration. Her greatest strength lies in her pleasant disposition, care and concern for all, her desire to reach out to the unreached, striving for betterment in every assignment she takes. She has traveled to several countries, both officially and for personal reasons. For her, every experience is a learning one. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I first would like to thank you for taking up a very sensitive area, which is very relevant for today's life and living itself. So it's good that you thought of documenting something that's going to be of use to the coming generations. Thank you.
Can you share your thoughts on how cultural and societal norms shape a perception of morality and freedom?
Okay, to talk about culture, culture is something that society lays down certain norms or ways of living. So it is definitely that each culture has its own styles that has been prescribed. It's an unwritten law how you need to lead life. So if you're talking about especially India and about Tamil Nadu, you can identify, see, irrespective of religion, irrespective of economic background, irrespective of educational background, each society lays down certain ways of behavior. So I'm sure anybody could identify a South Indian girl or a South Indian boy from a North Indian girl or boy, or somebody from the US, somebody from Europe. We can easily, from the way they behave, the way they communicate, the way they talk, our customs when it comes to the dressing that we do, it is the food habits, it's the marriage festivals or any festivals that we celebrate. So it is cultural background that makes us imbibe certain styles of behavior, and that is what culture has. But it is very important for us at the same time, because advancement, external pressures in the sense, exposures, I wouldn't use the word pressure, it's more of exposures. So the more we're getting exposed to a lot of things from outside, our children are getting easily influenced. So where do we, demarcate and say, no, this is our culture, and this is a culture that you can appreciate, you can enjoy, you can see it. But then don't make it part of us, because we are unique in our own way. They are unique in their own way. So let us respect each other's culture, at the same time imbibe and say that, yes, we are a culture by ourselves. So that is something that probably parents at home and teachers in the school, especially in the early years of schooling, teachers must, because they are role models, parents are role models, mothers play a very important role. So probably it is for us to see that cultural influences definitely must stay with us, because we should demarcate and say, yes, this is where I belong to. So probably that is to be inculcated in all our children and in the coming generation.
How do you believe empathy contributes to the concept of individual freedom?
See, empathy is putting yourself, into the other man's shoe. That's what you usually use the word terminology. But then empathy is how the other person would appreciate, would accept certain things. So you are able to recognize, you are able to perceive it from that person's perspective. And it is very necessary that we are able to empathize with people. But empathy does not mean that I change myself. You are what you are, but I am what I am. So that demarcation or that distance should be kept, because empathizing and then trying to become morally influenced by somebody is not very welcoming, because it can influence you to a very great extent. Empathy is, yes, it is how you feel is fine, but I also have my style of feeling. I am appreciating what you have to feel or say, but then I will have my distinct identity is very important. So empathizing and getting influenced because of empathy is not a very welcoming thing. It is to say that yes, each one is individualistic. I respect your, whatever you are. It is your style, your behavior. I empathize. I respect you, but I will not necessarily inculcate or make that part of my lifestyle. Similarly, I expect everybody in the society, if we have to be, grow up as a nation, where especially in India, we have so many languages, religions, and we need to respect. Empathy is respecting the other person for what he is or, so that is very important. So then each one has their own identity. We accept that, yes, that person is unique, I am unique, and we will go by, if that is the most important thing when it comes to empathy and its influence on society.
Could you explain the moral relativist perspective on moral freedom? Moral freedom, sorry.
See, freedom, freedom is something that you think, yes, I can do what I want. But everywhere the word freedom goes along with responsibility. So that is very important, because today education, we have become more liberal because a lot of people have come into the academic sector itself. Children, all our children almost, if you see, percentage of children coming into education is much higher than it was. Okay. Then when it comes to economic development, India has grown as even economically, we have become much better. Urbanization has taken place. So lots of things that are opportunities for youngsters to have a lot of exposures and lot of benefits that society itself has changed and brought about. But then morality and the moral connect between all this is very important, because actually, according to me, as you grow, all the more you need to be responsible. When I say grow economically, grow academically, grow culturally, but at the same time, the roots are very important, and morals are what you have as your root. So the foundation should not be shaken. So morality comes from what is socially acceptable. Okay, what society values, socially acceptable, yes, today changing standards, changing styles. That's not what I mean by saying that morality is something that society alone offers. But there are certain things like, here if I have to use the word also, there's something like the right conduct and the wrong conduct. So if I'm going to appreciate and imbibe right conduct, then I'm morally responsible. Otherwise, it is that, yes, today changes, so I also fling on to that or move on to that. That I will not necessarily say is a moral way of behaving. It is what is right and what is acceptable to society. Modernity is important, but then at the same time, along with modernity, I must not shake from my roots. So that is what I think is very important, and I consider that as a moral value.
I have a personal question for you. Sometimes morality is right, modernity is right, and sometimes traditionalist values are also right. But both cannot be applied in the same situation together, hand in hand. So it will always conflict. So how do we, what kind of turn do we take for that?
See, a balanced thing, because progress is something we all welcome. Okay, modernity is becoming progressive. Okay, but then, and we are definitely and probably it is necessary that we move on. Okay, the way I dressed, I will not necessarily want my child to dress. But then If I wore say in South India, we have a particular style of wearing a sari, and then probably she need not imbibe the same style or something. But yet she needs to say, I know people because they travel today, city has expanded. People feel that salwar kameez, which is an Indian costume, she's comfortable with that. She should. A girl, not only my daughter, it is any girl that I'm talking about. So they must be allowed. So you are progressing. But then again, the way you're wearing your salwar kameez is important. I wear a sari, she is comfortable with that. Fine, let them wear it. But then we keep to some standards or norms that, people should not look at us. Okay, it is. I always say we should stand apart to say, who is she or who is he? That sort of a style must be imbibed. It's not to attract attention that a person needs to, either scream and talk or shout or wear something that's not very, I don't know, it should even strong word means not even something that's indecent or something. So we should not stoop to some things for attraction. It should be that I stand out because, yes, look at the way so nicely she is dressed, or so well she's qualified so well, or okay, she comes from a very economically affluent family, but so nicely her behavior is. She respects people. That is what I mean by bringing, So modernity should not be, something that you think that, yes, being loud, being arrogant, that's not modernity. So moral values should be, and I also feel that it is probably, it is a personal thing. I should not be misquoted. A particular section of the affluent, the educated, everybody is trying to keep up a standard. It is the in-betweens where there's a lot of, possibility of influences happening. So probably we need to also check on that.
So to sum it up, you're saying like you move towards progression and modernity, but you also uphold the values that you were brought up with, the morals you need to keep together. So, okay, as a person of this generation, there is something that I hear commonly amongst the youth of this generation. They always say that, I don't know how to actually say it, I'm sorry.
Peer influence?
Peer influence is there, but they always are like, the style of those days is not the style of these days. So it's not necessary that those values have to be imbibed here. There's a whole generation change, time change, technology change. It's like two different eras. So the values over there may not be
applicable
to here.
Today's.
So if you see previously in my parents' generation, if they had to go apply for a job, they could just get a bachelor's degree, or if they wanted a better job, they could apply, get a master's degree and they could get a job, good job. But for our generation, we have to, these two are not enough. We have to put extra values of studying and different courses and skill building. And despite that, they are not having that approach towards the work. They are not able to get that. So that itself signifies, or that itself shows that there is a difference in the era as a whole. So what would you like to say to the people who say that these cannot be applied here and there, it cannot be interchanged?
See, opportunities, you've got to think positively for the youngsters. Sometimes when I talk to youngsters, I say, you know so much more than what I know. Okay, so you are in a way, you are a blessed generation, because your exposures, if you know that today an average Indian can afford a decent meal, there was a time that they did not, yet they kept to their values. Okay, and see whether times are going to change or not. One simple thing is, stealing is not good. Okay, talking ill about another person is not good, whether it's that generation or this generation. So values are going to be the same. Okay, so opportunities or challenges. Today, if there are a number of opportunities, like you're saying, yes, you need to go on studying, because there's so much of knowledge explosion. You have to keep to current trends. When there was not such a knowledge explosion, we studied what was required. But today, there's so much of knowledge, and unless you equip yourself, you will not find a suitable job. And today, the competition is also very high. Okay, you can see that the population has increased. Okay, so there are not that many jobs as I mean, one way we have an explosion of population, one way we have a dearth of jobs. So somebody needs to compete and come up. So actually, energy should be focused towards these things rather than thinking and how to probably there is the energy should be focused on growth rather than on other things which can bring you down, especially if you think of moral values. Okay, why take into to give you a example, see today's generation is, because of all this pressure that you talked about, people are thinking of alcohol, people are thinking of drugs, people are thinking of extra relationships, okay, heterosexual relationship. It's a natural thing, but then we try to see that yes, there's an age for everything, okay, but today everybody wants to try everything. So pressure or this competition should not lead you to deviant ways. It should think of constructive ways of how to use energy. I'm happy also because it's not that I want to give a very sad picture of the whole situation. I'm very happy today because today our children are very good at sports. Today our cultural activities. Probably there was a time I have, my generation when I saw youngsters dancing, we used to laugh. But today there's so much of a talent. Each girl dances or a boy dances so beautifully. So there is so much of talent available. So this energy needs to be channelized in the proper way rather than to be channelized in all these deviant ways of, always friends are very important, but then choose a friend. Okay, it is better to have 4 friends rather than have 40 friends who mean nothing, okay, who can pull you down. Rather have few friends, connect with them very well. Empathy, compassion, all those things are very important today. So that is where I would want people to see that their energy is utilized in a very constructive fashion. So challenges, like you said, yes, my generation and the younger generation, there's a lot of difference, but then we did not have that much opportunities on the positive side that your generation is having. So use that opportunity in a very constructive way. Don't get stressed. Today, every child talks about stress, about anxiety. These are depression. To talk more, actually, they are all clinical words. We never used those words. But today, every child talks about depression, stress, anxiety. These are things that probably, I don't know whether vocabulary is becoming too much that children at a young age are using such words. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask with one last question before concluding the session. As you mentioned before, like a lot of students get stressed and they use the words depression, anxiety, even if they don't understand the context behind it. I agree with you. A lot of us do use that quite often. But in a psychological perspective, can you share some 3 tips with us for this generation specifically for us to help build a better morale and follow our values, stick to our principles, basically?
Okay, first thing is think of what is right and wrong. Okay, if you think of what is right and wrong, choose the right path. Okay, give it a little thought when you're taking any action, doing anything. Okay, it can be just dressing style, it can be when you're talking to an elderly person, it can be anything. Just to give you simple examples, I use the word dressing or talking to somebody. Is this the way I should do it? So question yourself, is this the right way to do it or the wrong way? Is it not okay, not acceptable? So go on the right path. That's one thing that I would think of. A second thing is make use of opportunities. Channelize all your energy towards constructive ways of behavior. What is a constructive behavior? Yes, by doing this, am I progressing? Is there going to be an impact on myself? Am I transforming myself for a betterment? Am I impacting myself by studying? Am I going to become a better person? Will this impact be felt on society? So these are 3 things that I think it should be think of when you're thinking of what to do for yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a very good interview with you. Thank you for touching on the subject of morality, building a morale, and building a character for good improvement, especially a very important message for this generation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today despite your busy schedule.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having this plan to even meet me and talk about all this. It's good if it's going to help, anybody, even if it's going to change somebody's life. I think my time and effort would be very meaningful. Thank you.